By unanimous consent, the House has ruled, help the veterans now. I say we don't even wait for the Senate. I say we don't even wait for the President to sign it. I say right now we do it. Provide vouchers, provide anything to get our vets the care they need right now. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. And Fox on top of an over-the-top diss to our veterans that must stop and must stop now. A 421-0 vote in the United States House of Representatives, the first step in making sure it stops now. But key in this fix for the VA is this: fixing the care so that our veterans get it now. To former Verizon Wireless CEO Denny Striegel, General Bob Scales, and Republican strategist Jason Rowe. All right, so General Bob Scales, to you first. I love what they're coming up with here. I endorse it mightily. I don't want to wait through the perfunctory, political system to get this going. Why not do it now? Do the voucher thing now. What do you say?
Absolutely. I've been calling for this for 3 months. It's very simple. A veteran shows up at a civilian clinic with his DD-214, which is official proof of service, any medical records he has, and he goes to the doctor, he's treated, and the doctor sends the bill to the VA with a 30-day proviso that if the doctor isn't paid within 30 days, the VA owes him 15% a month until he's paid. The problem, Neil, is the long-term fix of the VA, but while Congress is trying to fix the long-term problem with the VA, veterans continue to die unnecessarily, and frankly, I think that is absolutely wrong.
And I think you're right, and more comes to light, Denny, about what went wrong in the past, and whether it was 50,000 soldiers or 60,000 soldiers or 100,000 vets who had to wait for care. My point is, we already know how egregious and awful this is. Let's stop it now. Let's stop the waiting now. Let's address the care now. We can address some of these other bureaucratic issues to the General's point later.
Neil, this voucher system is exactly the right answer, but I'd take it a little bit further than what the General has called for here. I think that the VA overall needs to be scrapped. Why isn't the voucher system the long-term answer? Allow the veterans, the people who have given so much to us in this country, to get the care that they need from the physician that they need it, from the facility that they need it. That's the right answer.
Think about that, Jason. I mean, we can talk about, fixing a broken system, or maybe it gets to the point where we just state the obvious, to Denny's point, and just junk that system, give our veterans a voucher to get care anywhere they want, anytime they need it. What do you make of that?
Well, I think what we're looking at here is we've got a third world healthcare system for the greatest army and military in the history of the world. It's an embarrassment to the United States. Every American should be outraged, and I think you can see by a unanimous bipartisan vote in the Congress today for Congressman Miller's bill that there is a recognition of the failure. I think what this exposes is just how bad and systemically corrupt this system is, and I do believe scrapping it is a consideration that we should take into consideration. Consider this: in the last 10 years, the budget of the VA has doubled to $160 billion. It's tripled since 2001. So there is no excuse that we could have a backlog of this many veterans waiting to get care, to the point where we're actually seeing veterans die. The legislation that Chairman Miller had passed in the House today forces the VA to do something that they've had the ability to do for 10 years, and that is allow the private sector to provide these services and be reimbursed. But the bureaucrats in the VA fought the money getting outside of the VA system and leaving the bureaucracy.
Well, a lot of the Federal Employees Union also had problems with it. And, General, I think that gets back to the core of this argument. It's not the funding that's the issue with the VA. I mean, we're spending on the VA what we spent on fighting all of World War II. Leaving that aside, the accountability comes into play. Now, the union has made some concessions about trying to make it easier to fire people, but inherent in this legislation is not a get-out-of-jail card for life here. That invariably this will go back to the old system once this system is presumably fixed, which means that we could be repeating the very sins we're addressing now.
Well,
I don't think.
General first, go ahead.
that may be true. My problem is these are over 1,000 treatment centers, 350,000 employees. If you try to pull the plug on this system in the short term rather than the long term, the people who are ultimately going to be hurt aren't the middle managers and the leadership who are responsible for this, Neil. It's going to be the veterans who used to going to the VA, used to having an attending physician. Oh, by the way, most of the physicians in the VA are very good if you can get to them. But the problem is if you create this interregnum where you switch from one system to the other,
that's a good point. What do you think of that, Denny? You could be doing more harm than good.
There's ways of doing this, Neil. There can be a transition period. It can be phrased in. Look, what we have here is a bureaucracy that is run amok. By the way, there are other government organizations probably as poorly managed as this one. The issue here is that we have people in these organizations that are run by people who are short-term political appointees, and what happens in that event is the people within the infrastructure, the administration, they don't pay a lot of attention to what the leadership does.
Right.
They're there a short period of time.
All right,
that's
guys,
the problem.
Thank you. We're running out of time here, but so are our veterans, to come to think of it. So they didn't waste a nanosecond for us looking after us. I don't think we should waste a nanosecond helping them. All right.